que ofrecer. Tiene tanto que ofrecer. Es el sueño el motor, son las metas a alcanzar. Siempre hay que descubrir la manera de vivir. Este lugar, esta tierra, tiene tanto que ofrecer.
Hello and welcome to F3 of the PSGL season. As you can hear from the background, we are already getting underway due to a little bit of delays, but we're going to be racing here in Mexico, and what a championship this has been for these guys. It's been action-packed, full of great racing, and I do apologise for any technical difficulties that does come around from this stream. The computer seems to be having a complete mare and not wanting to work to its fullest extent. But that being said, as mentioned, what a championship that the F3 season has been. I've only been able to look at the standings itself, and already I can tell it is a massive landslide in favour of one driver. That driver, of course, being Lennon, who is 42 points ahead of the next driver, which theoretically, I'd need to do some maths. He is close from closing this championship and basically taking the F4 title. Realistically, we're going to be looking at a battle for second place. Still, I do apologise. You can hear all the background, but my computer's deciding, you know what, we're not going to view the race. We're just going to not respond. But yeah, back to the standings. Nitro Shooter finding himself in second place, very closely followed by Lopez, a strong driver who is not, if you look at his standings, it's not the strongest of performances I've seen from him, but 2 second place finishes does push him high up in this championship. And then, of course, closely followed by Humphreys, who got promoted into the next tier above, which would be F2. Now, this is, I think we've got it. Think we might be in place. But yeah, Humphreys got promoted up, so that spot for P3 is now done and dusted, as Jeremy Glenner is now disqualified for parking illegally. It's not the first time you hear parking violations getting thrown out, as he is going to be disqualified from the session from the get-go. Now, there's a lot of talks about, well, first of all, we've got to mention what track we are on. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Mexico, where the mice is speedy and the food is delicioso. And it is, some of the most nicest food you can get is burritos. But here in the Mexico Grand Prix, 17 corners, though some of them are questionable of what is a corner and what's not. I think only realistically turn 17. Actually, no, they're all pretty fairly accurate for what a corner should be. Is we'll be looking, as I was going to mention, a 1:15 lap time, a couple of personal bests. Being down at the 1:14 mark is when we're going to be seeing some really quick times. And there you go, Molnar. 1:15.0, pushing himself quite strongly, as Stevens is going to be one of the next drivers to come across the line. Another strong head, definitely contender in future races, as he goes and puts himself into 1:0. He matches it. Oh. From a start, you don't get better than that to match a lap time. Felipe Sosa invalidated, and we're going to see quite a few of these invalidations pop up here and there, as this is a track where you are looking to cut a lot of the corners, try and gain as much as you can off this track. So we're going to be seeing a few more red lines around the outside, and a few more disappointed faces, as there we go. Just saw another invalidation from the Ferrari, and I think we have a lot of people disconnecting. There's seems to be, and I'm just going to check, might be a restart in the lobby. I think we are having a restart of the lobby, so we will be taking a very short break to work out what is happening. Actually, there's been no full call for a restart. I'm just asking, as there is a lot of people in the pits. I think we're trying to work out what is going on. I think that is our main objective. Yes, we are restarting. So we just got on, and now we're going to be taking a short break. We do apologise for the inconvenience, as we will be coming back in a moment to the racing once again. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we head back into the qualifying session. Just caught that a little bit early. You can see on our screens we're counting down the clock to get underway once again as we are heading back into Mexico. I do apologise for the initial delays, the initial technical errors that we had. He says, yep, we are getting onto it. So, We saw it briefly for a second. We saw lap times dropping down to the 1:15s. And I'm going to be honest with you, the way the drivers were performing today, we might be seeing a couple of drivers push for the definitely the 1:14.9 region. I'm going to go at a leap and say today we're possibly going to be looking at the 1:14.8. I feel somebody might be trying to scratch on the surface in that area, but it's one of these tracks. This is one of the tracks that is quite hard to set a sterling time on, simply because it's one of the hardest tracks to keep the car within the white lines. I say that very loosely because there are a few areas of easy invalidation. Starting off, you've got the exit of, where do I start? Turn 5, that's a horrible place. Turn 3, you've got turns 8, well 8's alright, but 9, 10, 11, especially 11, can be a bit of a pain in the neck. You can find some problems on the exit of turn 17, particularly for oversteer. You can get caught out with that. And that's really kind of the danger zones drivers will be having to keep an eye on coming forward into this qualifying session. Of course, 18 minutes on the clock. And all the drivers going to see what they can do today to drop this lap time down to that low 14s, or the high 14s. This championship, as mentioned, has been getting a bit interesting. Of course, mathematically, Lydon is very close to this for getting his championship completely done and dusted. Though today he is not racing. I'm having a look on here. Unless he's running by a different name, he is not racing today. So he will hold position. And if the likes of even Nitro Shooter actually isn't racing today, so that leaves Lopez currently in P11. He is driving the Red Bull for today. Leaves him an opportunity to try and nab second place and close down this gap, only being 43 points behind. It's a lot of an ask, being 4 races away to the end of this championship. But it could all happen, as we're going to ride on board with Jane Tripkov, as this is one of the earliest start-finish lines, and then the longest runs down to the first corner. Realistically, you want to be starting in the second row here, because as eventually you head to the braking zone, dropping all the way down to the 4th gear, you quickly shift up and you've got to cut as much of these curbs as possible. Tripkov getting away with the white line. Normally you'd get an invalidation for how wide he went. Into turn 4 and 5, again, it's one of the slowest sections before, again, this really tight double apex hairpin. You do see a couple of drivers lunge around here, but it's all about traction and making sure you can then swing it through. Turn 7, 8 and 9, 10 and 11. One little mishap will put you offline and make the lap even slower than it already is. Heading into turn 12, you just go past the DRS zone, and then into 13 again, the stadium section. Slowly and surely you get round the lap. Through turn 16 and 17, start to apply the throttle, but you've got to be careful because it's so easy to invalidate and also spin the rear end out. And a 1:15.1 from Tripkov. I feel we've got some better times lining up, and we saw before the little break, Molnaire putting a 15.0 in place. What's he got up his sleeve? I think a Red Bull's going to go past. That is Baker going to do 0.4 slower. And there we go, 15.0 from Molnaire. I feel he's only warming up for today. Franco. Andreas Franco, what has he got? Teammate of Tripkov for today's race. And he's, oh wow, we're already dropping into the 14s, or 1:14.9 for Lungate. And a teammate of Tripkov just above, still in the 1:15 mark. My shot of the 1:14.8 is not too far off nowadays. Sosa invalidated his lap, and he is going to look for another run here. Must have done it quite early, saved his tyres and go for another pounce against the grain here today. But talking about this track just in a greater detail, when we come to racing on the Mexican circuit, this I feel is a bit of an underrated circuit. You got the massively long straight from turn 17 to 1 with a DRS zone, which actually is fairly sized as well. You can see on your screen just where the little white mark on the big long straight where the 1 is, that green barriers there, that is where the DRS zones are, and the detection zone comes really quickly. Actually no, you get double dose on the first and second DRS zones. So great overtaking into turn 1. If you don't make the move there, you can make the overtaking opportunity into turn 4. And we have seen some side-by-side battles happen around turn 5 and then making lunges into turn 6. A rarity, yeah, but it does happen here and there. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, you keep it all nice and tight before going into the next DRS zone into turn 12, as we're going to watch Sosa. Has he put himself a sub 15, sorry? No, it'll be a 15-2, so 2 tenths off the current leader at the moment. And back to the rundown. Turn 12, again, it's another rarity. Unless you have a really poor exit out of turn 11, you don't see many overtakes there. Turn 13, a bit more of a percentage chance to have an overtake, and then you have to kind of remain... You usually see drivers remain behind come the exit of turn 16 and 17 just because they want that lovely boost and slipstream all the way down to turn 1. As we watch Sven Schumacher, I think he's put himself into a coaching role. For the last time I heard, I can't remember which organisation it is for, but he's looking to do more of those positions. But him as a driver, I've had the pleasure to watch Schumacher and watch him race. This man he has a lot of race pace. He comes out, he puts in some good solid times through the race and makes him a very high contender. Though I'm trying to find him in this championship and it doesn't look like he is competing all too high. I don't even think he's actually got onto the board at the moment, as he puts himself 4th fastest, only a 10.5 behind the current leader. And as the second round of laps will come into play, Fionn McKee, another strong name that rings the bell for me. Currently in P10 at the moment, not from what I can see here. He's not having the greatest of times. DNF, DNS, DNF, DNS for the first 4 races. Got onto the podium when he eventually found his pace in Bahrain, but finding the scrap points further back as he invalidates his lap once again. Fionn McKee not in a happy place right now. I'm going to hop to Zamaro, Bartos Zamaro in the Haas car. What can he put on the board? He needs to put something here today. Comes around the final corner. It's not going to be strong in 12th place. It's still competitive, and as the qualifying session goes on, more and more the track will evolve, gain that better grip, and we'll see some faster laps. But it bodes the question for today, what setups these drivers have on their car. As we're watching Molnir, he's about to start his lap, and an invalidation for Andreas Franco. And that's not going to be happy for him. But as I was saying, we're really going to be seeing sorry, I was talking about the what's going on in my head? This is where a co comes in handy. Reminds you of all the things that you forget. As Benny Fabos, he's going to find himself in second. He is just shy. I think that's a 15.00. I can't do the maths on my head, but he is just shy of dipping into the 14 mark. And we'll be watching Lopez, his chance to push himself into second place, close down this championship. And Lopez has been strong. Not only here, he's been strong in other leagues as well. He's been finding his rhythm, finding his drive. And I feel the way he's been driving, especially from what I've been seeing from Lopez this season, he might be moving up a couple of tiers. And I'm sure he will want to demonstrate that here today. Rounds the final 2 corners. What can he put on today? He rounds it. It's a 1:14.9.55. Only just taking it, but Molnir, oh, jumps it even further, and we're dipping ever so closer to the 14.8 mark. And the question is asked, who's going to be the first to drop it to the 14.8? Who is technically on a lap as well? Let's go to Rashan. He's coming into the final sector. He's only 0.05 up on his time. He needs to find a little bit more through this final sector. And the third sector is a technical sector. And he's done a good job. He puts him into the 14 mark. But he's still in a 14.5. And Rashan is going to be proud with that. But more work to come. 7 minutes and 15 seconds. If you are in this chat and watching this qualifying session today, put in who you think is going to take pole today. I'd love to hear your predictions. Who you feel has the potential to be taking this pole position here. As we wait, it will essentially be the next round. I think Sven Schumacher is on a lap. I have to check the rear end of this car. No, he's not. He's backed off the flashing red light, meaning he's turned off all ERS power. And recharging that battery. Who is further ahead? Because I've got Baker. He's coming round the end of second sector, coming to third. We'll ride on board with Baker in a second. We'll definitely have a look and see what he can do today, and we'll see what he can perform. Currently sitting in P8 at the moment. Got himself a podium position, third place in Austria. And again, fighting for that kind of scrap points. And I say scrap points loosely. 3, 5, 4 and 6 points are still decent, especially because the format in PSGL is slightly different to your standard racing league. But even so, you'd want to be seeing some higher numbers, definitely hitting the more 8s and 6s, 8s and 10 points if you're going to be not on the podium. But Baker, we're going to ride on board with him. That's what I promised you guys. And you can see these drivers, they're having to cut as much as they can from turns 2 and 3 to try and push themselves further. And there it is. Liam Stevens, a 14.8. He has dropped into the 14.8 region. And now I bode the question, is a 14.7 now on the cards? As we stay with Baker, what can he do? He didn't purple, or the game did not recognise a purple first sector. As he heads through the S's of turn 7, 8, 9, through 10, and then on to 11. You've got to keep the car between those white lines. It's so easy to push it wide, but Baker, he's positive on his time. You want to be negative, you want to be improving, and Baker might back out of this lap, save his tyres just a little bit more. What does he choose to do? Yeah, he's going to back out of the lap. He's not going to be improving at this point in time. And if I'm looking at that correctly, no, that's him doing an out lap. Yes, it's Sven Schumacher on an out lap. And Fabos is also on a cooldown lap. So we're going to be heading into final runs soon. I'm trying to work out who is on a lap so we can give you some form of entertainment. Is Ian Van Unen? No, Ian Van Unen is not. Is he, I think he's just jumped ahead of Schumacher, going, you're in my way. But final runs are about to get underway. With Stevens at the top with a 14.8. But it's all so close. Look at the gap. You can see on your screens how close this is. And realistically, this is anyone's pole position here. And I would not be surprised if someone from the back, Longate, pushes himself up to the front, or even Rishan Jacobs pushes himself to the front. They're all not too far. But it looks to be a McLaren. It's going to be Felipe Sosa who's going to run the gauntlet first, set his lap time early, and set the benchmark for everybody here today to try and beat. And it's a big ask when you are the first driver out, because you know that you've got to put everything in this lap, to then have to sit back and watch as everyone else improves as well. Of course, the disadvantage of going first as well is the track evolution. That if you want to be the last driver out on this track, so then you can capitalize on the evolution of this track, where the track has been rubbered in, the extra grip that comes from this circuit. And particularly through these S's, you want as much grip as possible. But you also then have to ask the question, what setup are these drivers setting? Are they going very straight lined? Or are they going very corner based? Are they setting themselves up towards the race or for a good qualifying? It is a lot we all have to unbuckle. We're going to ride with Felipe Sosa as he sets his final run on this Mexican track. He technically could, if he makes a mistake early here, invalidates, but still continues at a fairly good pace on a recharge, could come in and pump him one more lap. He has the time, but it's all or nothing in his eyes. A little bit shallow on the first curb. The second curb, he makes it a bit better, and the third is questionable. What will the sector times give us? It's a small improvement. He needs a lot more to see himself jumping to the top. Good traction on the exit of turn 5. And through the exit of turn 6. Again, a little bit of over-revving from the McLaren driver. And he's backing out from invalidation. So he might have one more opportunity here. If he plays his cards right, he could come out and set another lap. Who else is on a lap? I'm trying to work out who is pushing. I think Timer is on a lap. No, he just invalidated the same area. Corner 7. And it's so easy to do that. Tripkov is on a lap as well. But I think Stevens, he's unable to improve. I think Steven is going to back out of this lap. No, there is turned into a slight improvement. Our pole time is about to get harder as Liam Stevens is rounding the final 2 corners. What are we going to be setting today? What is the challenge that all drivers have to face? He comes across the line. It's a 14.84. And it just got a little bit harder, and there goes Schumacher. He's spinning. He won't be able to improve. Molnar finds himself in a 14.7. He puts the improvement and makes sure that he puts himself in a great position. Benny Fabos. This doesn't look good. He was looking positive initially. Has he got anything in this final sector? Anything to just push himself into P2? Comes across the line. He does find himself into P2. Tripkov jumps himself into P4. Rishan invalidated. Lopez invalidated. Lungate puts himself on pole. And I mentioned to you, anybody from the top 10 has an opportunity to push themselves up onto the pole position. Sosa is not going to improve. Morwicki not going to improve. And the track limit is bringing out the worst in these drivers. A lot of invalidations today. I'm trying to work out. Stevens is not going for another push. I don't think Schumacher's going for another push. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is your qualifying. Matteo Longate finds himself from the mid-pack, jumps himself up to pole position. And what a qualifying session. Only gapped with the top 9.2 of a second. The top 5, only a 10th of a second. Splits them all. This is quality qualifying from today. And there you go. Quick rundown. Matteo Longate in first. Andrea Molner in second. Benno Fabios in third. Liam Stevens in fourth. Jane Tripkov sixth. Sven Schumacher in seventh. Andres Lopez, he wants to be at the top and winning here, extending his chance for the lead in seventh. Rishan Jacobs in eighth. Franco in ninth. Sosa in 10th. Morwicki in 11th. Van Unen in 12th. Timur in 13th. Coleman in 14th. Baker finds himself 15th. Zamaro in 16th. Boris in 17th. And Fionn McKee all the way down. Didn't even set a lap time in 18th. And what a qualifying session that was. Unclear to who would get it. Who would be the driver to come out on top. And Molnar doing the work. Finding that pace. Sorry, not Molnar. Lungate. Coming out. Doing the works for today. And pushing himself onto pole. But as mentioned, you don't want to be on the front row. You kind of want to see yourself sitting in the second row. Because then you can use the slipstream from the drivers ahead to slingshot you into turn one. And as the clock ticks down, we'll be getting our answers very shortly. There they are, the lights coming on in the Mexican Grand Prix. 5 lights are showing. They turn out and we're racing here in Mexico. And it's a good start from the hatch driver of Lungate. But you can see them all training up one behind the other, and they're going to use the slipstream off each other because it's such a long straight all the way down into turn one, and the outside line is in favour of Molnar. Cuts down the inside, and Molnar is going to keep on fighting, but it's going to be Lungate who's going to keep on pressing, applying the pressure, but it has to yield. But he has one more chance into turn 4. Does Lungate have an opportunity here? No, he does not. But you can see Schumacher is taking the opportunity, seeing what he can press onto this lap. He gets forced wide. Needs to be careful not to join ahead. But again, forced wide once again by Fabos, who is not giving in his position. And they will still keep going through the S's. And the two cars will make further contact. And it will be Schumacher having to drop back, concede the position, but now under the pressure of Liam Stevens. But I don't think Schumacher is going to wait too long. He's wanting to get past this AlphaTauri driver. He wants to be fighting for the front runners while they slowly pull away. It's now 2 seconds between Fabos and Longate. It is a massive, massive distance. We're going to ride back with Longate. He's going to get an easy run down into turn 1. And there's not much fighting from Molnar. He knows the straight line speed that you get down the back straight just by slipstream. And then, of course, when you get DRS as well, is not worth fighting. And Liam Stevens, he's jumped himself up into 4th position. And he's going to be happy with where he sits. So what tyres are these guys running on today? As a couple more drivers will be switching up. They're all going to be running the hards. And they will be looking around, I'd probably say the lap 20-ish. We'll be seeing them come in for a medium set of tyres. Felipe Sosa, the only one on mediums. But he has pitted, I believe, collision and a bit of damage made him forced himself into the pits. As they all these drivers are slowly calming down. They've had their first attempts, but I say calm down loosely. We cross the line, and we're going to be going and activating DRS, drag reduction systems. And for those who are new to Formula 1, welcome. Glad to be the person to introduce you to Formula 1 esports. Drag reduction system is a little flap in the rear wing. You can see there's not the small gap we talk about. It's a larger gap. So the wing opens up and reduces the amount of drag, giving you a roughly extra, 10, 20 kilometers an hour, depending how that car is set up. And it is aiding you to get past the driver ahead. Now, this will only activate within the second mark. And if you look at our timing screens, this time is set to the driver ahead. A lot of these guys are already in a second, within a second between each other. So what happens? We get a DRS train, and essentially you have to rely on the second form of overtaking, which is your ERS system. So that ERS is called an energy recovery system. The same stuff you get on your family cars. The energy recovery system on your hybrids is the same thing we use in F1, just a little bit more powerful, and we can use that energy as a form of boost. We only have a limited amount, so they have to be conservative throughout this race, and we know a few of them have used it quite early. And what's happening here? It's Fionn McKee getting a bit shaken up at the back as he is trying to get past his teammates of Ian Van Unen. And Ian Van Unen, the flashing red light on the back of his car indicating less than 10% ERS left on him, and you have to conserve it. And to use it all this early is going to allow Fionn McKee to get past really easily. But, oh, that was a strong lunge from Ian Van Unen as the car does get from under him and unable to control it at the end. And Van Unen dropping further back down the grid, finding himself now in P17. Up ahead, Fabos has been unable to close that gap. He put in the work. He's currently being chased down by Liam Stevens. He's unable to really catch up with Longate and Molnar up ahead. They're kind of running their own race at this point. And it's slightly disappointing to see. Of course, we want to see the gap being quite close, as Fabos has given himself a 3-second time penalty for track limit warnings. He's crossed over the white lines 3 times and has given himself a penalty, and also with a flashing red light. I think Liam Stevens, yes, he will say thank you very much. You've just shown me that you are an easy overtake, and gets past, and you can see the little slit closing up as they break. And Steven has 2 options here. He can either be ahead of the train, not really fight with Fabo behind and allow each other to overtake one by one, keeping the momentum and pace going, or he starts to deploy his ERS, try and catch up to Stevens and see if he can get within the top 2. At this point in time, doesn't really seem to be much movement, as that was Fabos getting a bit squirmy. Too much throttle on the exit of turn 6. Or has his tyres started to overheat early in this race? I do believe it would be the rear tyres that are going to take the most pressure here, purely because of that S section in Sector 2. And Fabos needs to push a little bit harder. I don't know if he just, because the detection zone for the long straight, both from turn 17 and 1 and from 3 to 4, is situated just between 14 and 15. As somehow he's got away, but Sven Schumacher is now a second behind, as there is a safety car. What is going on here? Someone has gone off and had a little bit of trouble, and we've got a full safety car out on track. And what this will do for a lot of drivers, we're quite early in this race, seeing who has decided to make a stop. There's a few drivers who have opted to go and pit early for the mediums. This potentially opens up the 2-stop strategy to come in play, going for a hard medium, or stretching out a hard and long ascent on the medium to push for the softs. But realistically speaking, I think it's a bit too early to really go for a strategy like this. We'll have to wait and see what the leader does. Because essentially, when you are in the lead, you call the shots for the drivers behind of when you want to pounce, when you want to call and go into the pits. And you can see him trying to fake Molnare into the pits, but it's not going to work successfully. So I don't believe... I would be surprised if another driver comes in and pits. There are a few who are again deciding, you know what, we're going to try this medium strategy, see what we can do early on. As a few of the mid-pack, so people from P9 backwards, opting for a potential two-stop strategy. We're under that safety car, the Aston Martin safety car, and oh, what the? That's Sven Schumacher. Tripkov is going to get... So, Lungate disqualified for ignoring yellow flags. Sven Schumacher is going to get... He's going to have damage. What happened? I honestly do not know what happened there. In the background, Sven Schumacher being caught up with the damage. And Jane Tripkov has just been dished out a 5-second time penalty because of it. He will most likely be contesting this because I did not see what happened. And what a bizarre situation. Was it a case of brake checking? Was it that Sven Schumacher did what I did one time in racing where I just wasn't focusing and went straight on? It's so easy to take your eyes off and make an honest mistake, but he's kicking himself right now. Schumacher, and they're taking account the rest of the pack has caught up as well. So he's going to have to dive into the pits and he's going to end up dead last in this race. Not what you want to see. Hopefully we don't get any more disasters like that. What a bizarre moment as Zamaro, 5 seconds speeding. Is he retiring? Usually when you see that, the drivers end up retiring, and we are having a migration of host. And I'm not sure what is happening, and I will be checking to make sure we are not. I think we are possibly restarting, because that's another driver. Yeah, we've got a few drivers just basically acting very cheeky right now. And I'm going to check. Let's have a look, Give me... We are having another restart. From safety car order. It is a full-on restart. So once again, we do apologise, ladies and gents. There seems to be further connection issues at the moment. This isn't the first time there's been problems, though I am questioning... We're going to be doing it from the beginning. So we're going to put it to a break and we'll give you some further updates to what will be happening. So do bear with us while we resolve whatever the problem is. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologise for the further technical difficulties with the EA servers, but we should be back and running here in Mexico. The drivers aren't happy. They've already done 8 laps of this race. They're already getting tired of the restarts, the waiting, and I can understand a lot of people aren't too happy, but the massive crash that we did see was due to a massive spike in lag under the safety car, causing a lot of drivers to have damage. Agree to disagree to the situation, but I will make no further comment to the situation itself. As we're going to be getting underway. The drivers are going to have to re-put on their oh, it's gone out of my head. It's been that many restarts. My brain's already deciding to go to mush. It's 24 seconds. Setups. There we go. As we get 20 seconds on the clock. And we will be finally getting underway once again. Hopefully for some great racing, just like the start we had before. We're going to possibly see a lot of drivers once again go back onto those hard tyres, see what they can do. As the clock ticks to 0. We're going to be starting from the start. Once again, 5 lights showing on your screen. The lights are out and we're racing once again in Mexico City, and we are already off for a good start for Molnar, but you can see Lungate going down the outside, trying to see what he can pull off in that position, but he's going to be covered off this time by Molnar. But down the inside, Sven Schumacher, he's going to be eyeing up an opportunity, but nothing just yet. So no, not really using the slipstream this time as they did before, but you can see the horde of cars further back as Rashan is going to get threatened, not by 1. He's going to try and go and get 2 in against Carlman. I don't know which one is which. Oh, Carlman stayed behind, but Rashan did a good job, but he's gone deep and wide. And this has just allowed his teammate Carlman to get right past Rashan and open the door up, as they're already a second behind from the leaders. And a completely different turn on its head. A different dynamic coming into the start of this race. The top 5 actually, staying with the leader this time. No one dropping off. And the top 5, the names that we've mentioned before: Molnar, Lungate, Schumacher, Sven and Tripkov, all staying close with each other on the first lap. But if you have a good straight line speed setup, it might favour you here. We're going to ride on board with Stevens. He looks interested, but I don't think he's going to make the move here. He's going to wait patiently for a next opportunity. So where he's positioned now is a fairly strong position. Yes, he's at the trail end, but he's got himself where he can fight for that podium position. And when he does, he'll be waiting for the likes of Molnar and Lungate to battle. Wait for then Schumacher to maybe get a bit cheeky and go, yeah, I'll try for this. And that's when Stevens will try and jump into this battle and get along and fight with it. That second gap has magically disappeared as well. Carlman has pushed himself into that second mark. So all drivers within a second, as we are about to head on to lap 3 and DRS to get reactivated. Of course, not onto the start-finish straight and the second straight initially, because there's only one detection point just as the drivers are going past. And it only gets activated now when Molnar crosses the line. But even so, they're gonna have to wait a bit longer. But Sven Schumacher, he's not got pace here. He's not able to keep up with the front two, and that's an easy overtake for Liam Stevens. And he will get past and will find himself up into P3. And we look back, and I think Sven Schumacher, no, he looks like he's slowly dropping back as down the inside. It's a very late move, but Tripkov is going side by side with Schumacher. Schumacher pushes the Williams wide while pushing himself wide. But clearly something's not right with Schumacher. He's not finding some pace. Or has he used all his ERS this early? As where else is the action on lap 3? We're going to get the first use of DRS on this straight. Zamaro in P9. Closest on the timing screen. He is trying to work his way up the grid. He found himself 7 positions off the get-go, running those medium tyres. So an aggressive start has worked out well. But he wants more. He's hungry for more. As he is looking for Franco. And seeing what opportunities lie ahead of him. Goes a little deep. Just going to give the idea for more Wiki, who's lost his position. If he can take this position back, he'll find himself equal to where he started. But again, it's just not going to happen down these 2 straights for the moment. And there on your screen you can see the medium tyre for Zamaro's the only person running the optional compound tyre. And it's a very, very alternative strategy, meaning that he's going to go aggressive now and then use the mile munchers later on. As we drop back to the front, we're watching Lungate, who's just got himself. He's just got himself. I think it's Lungate. I keep mixing up my name, so I do apologise. If it is Lungate, then I've been getting it right. If it's not, I've been getting it wrong. But no matter what, Matteo is going to get past Andrea Molnar. And that was easily done with the assistance of DRS. Possibly a little bit of ERS as well, just to help him out. But no fighting, nothing from the Alfa Romeo driver. He just sits put. He knows that that overtake wasn't his fight to play with. And that he will come back later on and fight for that position come the latter stages. Lap 5. And it's just seeming to calm down already. A lot of these drivers find their stride quite early and run and focus on their tyre degradation, focus on their fuel management. For some, if you're Tripkov, trying to find some ERS once again. Flashing red light at the rear of his car indicating he has less than 10% ERS. Which is going to make it a lot harder if he wants to overtake any of the drivers ahead of him. Because if he's in the train, they will have the advantage of DRS. And Molnar is losing touch to Longate. And as slowly the Haas did pull away just for a brief second. That straight line speed from the Alfa Romeo coming in handy. But Matteo, he's trying all he can. He's going to do what he can. He's going to have one shot really to break that second mark and disrupt the flow of this race. I think he's just used it up as Kalman in 6th. He's about to break the second mark himself. Him and his teammate, realistically, both of them looking to be breaking the second mark as Rashan is going to say goodbye to his teammate and now going to have the tail end of the rest of the field. Franco is going to see this on his board and he's going to go, yeah, thank you very much, but say no thank you to that time penalty that's just popped up, as that's 3 seconds to himself. And of course, Via McKee, I think, also grabbed himself a 3-second time penalty just to add some insult to injury. But it's this man, Bartas Samaro. He's running those medium tyres. He needs to play aggressive early on. And he needs to find pace here and now to get past the driver ahead. The drivers ahead of him are all on hards. He's the only one running these medium tyres. And there's just not enough pace in that Haas car at the moment to mount a move to get him past. He's just going to have to wait patiently here and again. And his battle will wait once more. And there's no major battles, realistically speaking. He says there's a possible potential here for Battle of 13th between Theo McKee, Boris and Fabos. As they all try and get what they can through these S's, you've got to stick close. But again, the turbulent air from the car ahead, though it's reduced, is going to be affecting the grip. There's going to be a lot of understeer. And oh, that's going to be Theon McKee into the wall. He is able to keep moving. Just a broken front wing for himself. So no safety car needed, no virtual safety car either. Just a temporary yellow as we get back racing once again. And it's going to be Jane Tripkov. What can he do on to Sven Schumacher as we get to watch him only square up the German driver ahead of him. But with that flashing red light, there's not much he can do in this situation. No safety car, as we had from the last break where we had the lobby restart. Around about this time, safety car was out and the lobby glitched, causing a lot of drivers to essentially bump into one another, causing damage. And Theo McKee, after his little spin, I don't blame him to go, yeah, I'm done with this today. I'm just going to retire. Retire so in the pits, and that's his race finished. Up ahead. On there. Not able to close down onto Longate. And he's not able to do much damage either. He's going to have to wait patiently again. He's 0.7. I think the overtaking distance, the timing, coming around that final corner. If you want to mount a moves about 0.4. That is in the case that you don't have a drive ahead with DRS. If you've got a drive ahead with DRS, it's a little bit more, as we're going to see a lot of overtake happening here, as that's going to be Franco going to get past, and then Morwicki is also going to get past, but Barta Zamara is going to try and get feisty, and fists are out between himself and Morwicki. But nothing again, but this time Zamara going backwards instead of forwards. So those medium tyres, unless they're going out already, are not favouring all too well. But Roshan, not the day for him, as he's slowly dropping backwards. He lost his position to Coleman, his teammate. Now he's just lost the position to Frenico. He needs to stay on the rear end of the driver in the Alpine car, but it's going to be a lot of work for him. And that's just been made easier. Franco's just been given a 3-second time limit. I think that's his second one. It is 6 seconds now. On to Frenico. And Franco is going to be under even more stress. This now would drop him down further back, as Jane Tripkov is going down the inside of Sven Schumacher. I think that move was pending and waiting. And every time I look away, someone else makes a move, as Roshan again is dropping further back. And I think they're possibly, and I would not be surprised if one more comes of it. Not here, but maybe later on, as Roshan tries his best to fight back. He tries to put himself into a strong position, but he just can't find it. And I do question, what is Roshan's tyres life? Is there anything left for the Mercedes driver? So we're heading to lap 10. Pit stops are going to come around, I'd probably say the lap 20 mark on this track. That's when we're going to see it all unfold. And Jane Tripkov The first of the front runners pushing himself outside the second mark, putting him under pressure. He made that move onto Schumacher to find himself a more stronger position. And now he's lost out. He's not going to have the DRS. As you can see, the rear wing flap is closed. And this is just a can of worms for him because he's got Schumacher, he's got Kalman, who could be fighting against him for P4. As we watch with the front runners. So they head through turn 6 and through the S's. A lot of people will ask, who's going to be the first to budge? Who will be the one to make the mistake? Well, this is tier for F3, ladies and gents. These guys rarely make mistakes. And when they do, these drivers will capitalize on it. And when we say mistakes, we're going to be talking the minutest of things. Tyres slightly overheated and the rear end kicked out. Bang. They're going to pounce. They're going to make the move wherever they can. And looking at the timing screen, I think Roshan really is struggling right here because he is just lost. But he was a second behind Morwicki. And he's not going to be happy with where he's finding himself. And I think we're going to jump to Morwicki, Roshan. He holds his position for now, but I think also Zamaro is struggling on those medium tyres. I think he's put so much effort in overtaking early that he doesn't have any life to fight back, to mount overtakes. As he's got Baker up his rear end, knocking on the door saying, I'm here. I'm here to fight. And I'm sure a few of them are. As Roshan currently finding himself in P6, he needs these points desperately to be in a contention. Because technically he is fighting for P2 here. He is in that battle. Harman as well. Kalman, sorry. For some reason I read that as a H on my standings. Kalman as well. Currently P6. He will actually, in this position, he will overtake Andres Lopez. He will overtake him in the championship, taking... Realistically, he will be taking second place in this championship. So he's got a bit of confidence here and happy with his positioning. And I'm trying to see where Tripkov is because I can't actually see him on my standings board, which is surprising. Nonetheless, we go back to the race itself as not a lot has really happened. It is the calm before the storm, and we're going to have this moment of quiet. I'm not going to use the Q word. Because then something... Actually, no, we're going to say it's quiet. I want to cause chaos and mayhem. But it is quiet for now. Drivers, again, focusing on their tyres, focusing on the fuel, trying not to get time penalties. Fabos has just claimed yet another penalty. I think that's 9 seconds for himself. They're going to do what they can to just stick it out. And it's really down to the race leader. When he pits, a lot of the other drivers will pit. Occasional people will go, yeah, let's give it a try later on. As talking of pitting, I think Roshan has felt those tyres are not for him. And yeah, there's a bit of front wing damage. So that would explain why he was going backwards. So he comes out. He will be down. Don't think he will be ahead. I think he will be ahead of... Why is Dimas here? Hold up. Why is... I think Dimas is a ghost, but... Yeah, that is a ghost, but... Alexander Dimas is not racing here. He's a tier 4 driver who is fighting for the championship in F4. So that is a ghost, so please do ignore the P16 driver, he is not relevant to this race. A brilliant driver nonetheless, 14 years of age, and definitely has potential to rise up through the ranks, but not in tier 3. Not in the F3 category, not yet. He's struggling in F4 at the moment, but he has his way to work his way up, as a couple more drivers are getting time penalties added to their names. And the pressure to hold pace with the front runners, or the driver ahead, growing ever so strong, as Zamaro is going to go into the pits for himself. And once again, Molnar is going to stay behind, not mounting up any move just yet onto the driver ahead of him, that's Longate. And Stevens is holding up quite nicely. Stevens is in the best position right now, because he can allow the front two, when they eventually squabble, because they will, it'll either be a strategy call, or it will be a case of that Molnar will try a move. Stevens in that prime position that once they do, he can cruise up on these guys and then mount his own attack, adding more chaos to what's happening. But the person in the best position, realistically, is Molnar, because he has the option to pounce whenever he wants. As much as you're probably saying, wait, Reese, surely the guy is ahead should be in the best position. Well, yeah, he's got track position, but realistically, Molnar can choose to attack, can choose to apply the pressure, and cause the driver ahead to use up his ERS, which Lungate has done. And all he needs to do is just stay calm. This is a DRS heavy track, and without DRS you lose valuable time. As Rashan came and pitted a lot earlier, he's going to find the fastest lap of the race, but that will probably be taken away. We don't do fastest laps. Oh yeah, we do fastest lap, sorry. So fastest lap point is critical, but you have to be within the top 10. So him at the moment not really getting anything for it. As we ride on board with Liam Stevens, as we stick with the front. And that's quite deep from Molnar. And look at his steering wheel. It's a very subtle thing that I can see. But underneath the orange bar, there's a big yellow bar. That is looking to be around the 60%, as that is the difference for the car behind. So 44, 45%, about even from himself and Tripkov, who is behind him. And that goes to show that how the difference, or how similar these cars are driving, even though there's a 2-second gap between them. Lap 17. No movement amongst the field. Only 2 drivers have pitted already, and I'll quickly show them up for you. That'll be Bartos Zamaro and Rashan Jacobs have already made their stops. The question is, and in the chat, I want to see your predictions. Who's going to pit next? Who's going to be the one to go, you know what? I'm going to take that risk. I'm going to go for it. And see what I can pull off here. See what I can somehow bring to the table. What happened to Timir? He didn't even make it past the first lap. Is the honest answer. I did not see him get past the first lap. So that is why he is out of this race. A few fans from Brazil, love to see you. So down in P13. But this race isn't over. This race is not over. A safety car could be called out. Bring him back into the play. He hasn't pitted as of yet, but I wouldn't be surprised soon if all the drivers do end up coming in for the pits. As you can see, Tripkov, he's actually trying to defend the line, breaking the toe off Sven Schumacher. So is he feeling pressured here from the German driver? As Tripkov is holding himself quite nicely here in P4. He's got a strong force behind him, a strong bunch of drivers who definitely will try and capitalize on any mistake that Tripkov makes. And from my experience, Tripkov is a very stable, very relaxed driver as well. He doesn't often make mistakes. He runs his own course, runs his own strategy. When he needs to attack, he's able to do it in such spectacular fashion. But again, keeps it calm, and so then Schumacher is going to make the pits, as well as Liam Stevens. So here we go, ladies and gents. Lap 19. The medium tyres are going on. The undercut is in progress. For those who are new, who don't understand, the undercut is the effectively pitting early, get on a fresh set of boots, get those tyres warmed up quickly, and using those fresh compound tyres to set a faster outlap and get ahead of the driver ahead. Of course, the opposite is the overcut, where the other drivers are trying to stay out for as long as they can and see what they can do with the pace they have. With the tyres, where they've already got temperature in their tyres. And sitting nice and peachy. So who's going to react? Molnár has to react. Knowing the threat that was behind him, that was Stevens, he's got to react to it. Lungate, he's in that predicament. He could react to it. Most likely he will. But at the same time, he runs the course. He decides when he wants to. He's had track position, and he is going to look to go into the pits. So we're going to stick with the front two runners here as they go into the pits. And Molnár, 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit, and possible wing damage for his car as well. We're going to see, is that going to be changed? No, it's not. That is disastrous for Molnár. He's not going to be happy with that. Was it the fact that Lungate went in and braked hard? Lopez has put himself in a good position, but there is Stevens. And Stevens having a look on Lungate go down the inside. He's going to take the provisional first place of this race. Of course, a few drivers need to pit. And what work by Stevens, pitting one lap earlier, getting the overcut done. And he's also now got a car ahead of Boris to help him maintain some strong pace and not be dragged down, saving his tyres a bit more. But you can see he wasted all of his ERS just to catch up with these guys. Meanwhile, Tripkov has failed to stay ahead of Schumacher, and Schumacher has made the move down in, I believe that was turn 6, and Schumacher up a position. Now the drivers ahead who haven't pitted, I'll show you on screen, they're going to be dreaming of a safety car here, hoping for one to come out to aid themselves, to give them an opportunity. As we cut back, Boris not doing too much to hold back the Haas driver, but look at the slingshot that is coming from his teammate of Molnár. He looks to split the two cars. He goes in between the middle. He might move it round the outside, but there isn't just enough room for Molnár to get past. And the Haas driver positioned himself very nicely, but losing out to Stevens. So he needs to be careful. And Boris, a thorn amongst the rose bush. And he definitely caused a little stir amongst the front runners. As Jane, Tripkov and Schumacher is going to be fighting out as well down the inside. That's late from Schumacher, forcing Tripkov to go wide. Fair racing here. And these two, I feel like we need to be watching these two fight a bit more. But this has allowed Kalman to come straight back into contention here because of these two fighting. And once again, that Williams driver closing ever so closer, but not into turn 12 here. Gonna have to hold back, be patient, not make the move all too early. As I am keeping an eye on the timing board. As in the pits will be Boris. So he's diving himself out the way. As the front runners of Lungate looks for the opportunity but decides against it. And down the inside, once again, we're going to catch it this time. It's going to be Tripkov against Schumacher. They fight for the third time running, and Tripkov will get the inside line. But now you can see the Mercedes driver also getting involved into this race. Carlman is going to have a great opportunity. He now gets past Schumacher, lines himself up against Tripkov. Can't make the lunge, but critically, that third place position within the train, I mentioned to you this before, is the strongest position you want to be in. Look at Steven, sorry. He is now in effectively P1. He waited, bided his time, and was able to push himself ahead. This is exactly what Carlman is doing here. He was in that third position of the train. He's slowly moving his way up through the field. It's not going to be easy because all these drivers have ran out of ERS. Their flashing lights are all showing. So it is a case of, right, who's the bravest and who's the boldest? I'll tell you who's brave and bold. It's going to be the front two runners. It's going to be a switch for the effective lead as Lungate is going to make the move down the inside into turn one. And I feel we're going to be seeing a lot of overtakes for the rest of this race. All the drivers have gone aggressive. The only driver that's actually got a little bit of life is Stevens, as that's now gone as well. It's going to be back and forth. So who's the driver who's going to risk dropping off a little bit of pace to recharge their battery so they can have a proper run at each other and pull that effective gap? Because right now, these drivers, they have a button that's dedicated to the ERS, and they're probably tapping that constantly. When they have a charge, they're using it just to stay ahead. And if your name is Andres Lopez, you're probably sitting here quite happily right now going, yeah, I'm sitting comfortably. You have to remember, Lopez hasn't pitted. He's pushing a lot longer than the rest of these drivers, seeing what he can churn up. Because effectively, these drivers behind him aren't making too much damage onto Lopez's lead. Is he going to be in contention for winning this race? Realistically, no. He hasn't pitted yet. And he still needs to pit. So I can big him up in a fair amount. But that will go eventually. And the ghost car is of Alexander Dimas, who is not actually racing. He doesn't actually race in this tier. So he will be just an annoyance in the way. As I'm looking at the timing board, and once again, Carlman getting ever so close onto Tripkov. Oh, I've done something. I did something. I do apologise. I accidentally somehow clicked a button. We're back. As Liam Stevens, and we did break for just a moment. And I do apologise because there was a great move that happened there. Lungate gets past Liam Stevens. And Lungate back in the lead, back to his comfortable position. He clearly did that through the S's section, so lack of traction is a question mark, we have to say. Again, I do apologise to the viewers. My hand just clipped the Windows key. But I don't think this battle is going to be over. No, this is against P1, the effective P1. And Lopez, really, he can legitimately fight this. He doesn't have to give away his position. He's fighting for pride here. But of course, the more he fights, the more it upsets Liam Stevens. And the further away Lungate will get, but quickly and efficiently, the Alpine driver will get past the Red Bull driver. Not something you're going to hear every day in Formula 1. And now the fight for P1 will further continue as we are closing in on the last remaining laps. 25 of 36. Make sure you have your predictions in the chat. Who you think will end up on top. And there you go. All the front three runners have got past. And crucially at this point, Lopez can say to himself, yeah, I could probably pit now. and be happy with what I've done, because he does need to. The question is it mediums or is it for the soft? I've got to say, if he goes further, he potentially could look at going for the softs. At the moment, he's still in that medium territory with a very large stretch on the softs. But Molnár, 1.3 seconds behind. Steven, 0.9 seconds behind. And with no ERS to really back them up, the front runners are in a dangerous territory where they're not able to fight amongst each other, which then brings the next juicy battle back down to effectively P4, but on screen P5 as Zamaro once again will get a 3-second time penalty, and I will bring that up for you guys. 8 seconds for Tripkov, and actually I just completely forgotten about the penalties. Molnár has a 5-second, Lungate's got 3 seconds, so Stevens doesn't have to fight here. He can sit happy and comfortably in the position he is in and win the race here. And who is that dropping back? That is Molnár dropping. Why is Molnár dropping back? Molnár dropping back from P3. And what has happened to the Alfa Romeo driver? Was there a mistake? Was there a problem? We see him slowly dropping down the board for unknown reason. We stick with him. Has the pace gone? Is there damage to that Alfa Romeo? Straight line looking to be holding himself. Let's have a look in the corners. It's hard to tell. There doesn't look to be any visible damage. But this is a good day for these guys. An extra position for themselves. As you can see, the ghost car still getting in the way. And, oh, please don't tell me this is a further problem. Nope. Just a massive hiccup. Hopefully that hasn't affected anybody. But we're too far in the race. We will not be restarting. We will not be restarting no matter what happens. We're too far into this race. As we are waiting for... It's been Molnár. Again, we have to work out what happened. But critically, the people who are in the best position right now is this person in P5, Kalman. No time penalties to himself. He's happy with the position that he's got. P5 plus Tripkov's got 11 seconds. Lopez still needs to pit. 6 seconds. He's gonna get P3 if he pushes a bit more, can get past Tripkov theoretically and close down the gap as well. He could be on for a chance for P2 here, but he's got a definite certain podium position here for Kalman, and he's gonna be happy with that. No, he's going to be genuinely happy. Puts himself into P2 in the championship. And Zamaro, think he has spun. Yellow flags out on track. Has to get out of the way of Boris. Further back. And back to the action. 28 out of 36. Still, Lopez still needs to pit. So does Sosa. He needs to pit as well, so I don't get why he's not. 27 laps on those tyres. He needs to pit Lopez. I think he knows that he can't win it from here, so play the annoyance card, just get in everyone's way and see what you can do indeed. And you can see Sven Schumacher's tyres against Kalman's. Kalman is in a fresher set of tyres. He's sitting happily here. He's happy with what he's got. He's got not really much threat. Schumacher isn't pressing onto him. Meanwhile, Tripkov is going to have some... Well, I say Tripkov. Lopez is going to have pressure by Tripkov. Again, this is technically for position, even though they haven't pitted yet. But that's Tripkov going deep. He tried to overtake, get aggressive, and that's opened a can of worms, because now he's going to allow the opportunity for Schumacher and Molnár to look for an overtake down into turn 6, but none of them could get past. But Molnár does find a position onto Schumacher. And a late break did not work out all too well. And Carlman's the next driver to get past Lopez and give himself some breathing space. And you can just see at the front of your screen, he will get past the Mercedes driver ahead of the Red Bull. And all he needs to do his end is drop that timing board from 8 seconds to about, oh, this is mental maths in my head and I really don't like doing it. 6, 5, 4.5 seconds. And he can claim P2. Realistically, that's a big ask. But this is not out of the question as Schumacher is dropping further back. And there's Morwicki is also going to be trying to get 1, possibly 2 into turn 1 we go. And the McLaren driver going, you know what, you guys can battle. I'm going to take it for myself as Molnet and Jane Tripkov also fighting it out. But Tripkov, with the large amount of penalties, he's going to drop back no matter what. And with the 12 seconds, there's 12 seconds on the board here by Frenico. It's not what you want to see, as there's 6 laps. Well, we're going to be going on to 6 laps remaining. Currently on lap 30. Lopez demonstrated. I only question what percentage those tyres are on for Lopez, because he's still out there. He's still going with very little grip. He's causing a disturbance. He's causing some drama round the outside. Again, Jane Tripkov not wasting any time. He doesn't want to be stuck behind the Red Bull driver. And the Red Bull driver is he's entitled to do this. He's entitled to fight. He's allowed to do it. It's causing some drama. It's causing some problems as Schumacher loses yet another place. And here comes, once again, the Red Bull driver finding pace, but round the outside, or would be down the inside. Morwicki looks for a move. Tripkov spins! The aggression against Lopez, who put his car in a great position. And Jane Tripkov is out of contention here. And the Red Bull driver is out here to piss people off. He is making sure that he does not give an inch of road. Look at him as he pushes the Alpine driver wide. Schumacher trying to capitalise on the Alpine driver going wide. And now, what more work can Lopez do to hold back these drivers? As Sven Schumacher has ghosted for a brief amount of time. That's going to hinder his performance. Down the inside into turn 12. And again, the Red Bull driver of Lopez. This is entertaining, even though he's not fighting for this. The defensive nature that Lopez is demonstrating to us is fantastic. As now he does dip into the pits. 32 laps on those tyres. 30, sorry. 31 is across the line. What a magnificent drive from Lopez. Unfortunately, no points will come onto it. He will drop onto those medium soft tyres to the end. And it has spread out the field quite a bit. So actually, and Tripkov's not going to like this. Guess what's behind him? Actually, no, I think he's just got past him. But he had to deal with another Red Bull driver of Baker. But Tripkov, the worst out of them all, dropping down all those positions after contact with Lopez. And I'm sure Tripkov's going to have a foul few words with Lopez later in the lobby. I would not be surprised that the move, the aggression, it's all fair games. It's all things he could do. But when you're fighting for a championship like this, you don't want to be seeing a slower driver ahead of you. It's just a hindrance and it gets in your way. Frenko trying to find his way past Sven Schumacher. He's going to have free DRS here. He's going to make the move 10 times easier for himself. He's going to wait patiently towards the end of the straight. Looks to the inside line. Clean and easy indeed. And then he's going to get the second dose of DRS as well on the exit of this corner. There it is. and he's able to pull away. And especially with not a lot of these drivers having any form of ERS for themselves, they are unable to fight back, unable to apply the pressure amongst one another. So what's happening up at front? Well, nothing really. The front runners are just keeping themselves calm. Lungate, knowing he has that 6-second time penalty to his name. Liam Stevens sitting calmly. You know, he doesn't have to do much in this scenario. And he is a very calm driver, Stevens. We've seen this. I saw him when he raced in Britain. A very calm driver, got some good race pace behind him. Makes the moves when he knows statistically he has that chance of winning it. Doesn't get too risky. It's all a game of statistics in his head. And I do love that way of driving because it's calm, it's effortless, and it's a thrill. Honestly, it's a thrill to watch Stevens race. And today, I don't want to say it too early, but he's looking for a good race today. Even though technically he'll cross the line in P2 by penalties, he's looking for the win at the moment. The race isn't over though for Schumacher. Sven Schumacher started a lot higher up in this race. He had potential, he has pace. Currently in P7, he's going to bag himself points. So at least he's walking away with something, but just not the something he fully wanted. Tripkov felt he was robbed. Probably will feel that he's robbed. And is chasing down Sven Schumacher. Look at those tyres. 54% on Sven. Only 52 at worst. Onto Tripkov. Those tyres are dying. And we're going to have to pose the question, because we're slowly ticking in. 60% is when we start to see puncture territory. If these guys keep going at this, whose tyre is going to fall off first? As into the first corner we go, Sven Schumacher. Again, getting ever so close, but he can't make the move. He doesn't have to make the move here. He doesn't have to do anything, realistically speaking. He's got the penalty advantage. Only 8 seconds to his name. Frenico with 12 seconds to his name. A lot more against him. He's going to have to wait a bit more patiently. I'm going to stick with this little fight for a little bit longer because they will be trying to mount up their last attempts. From P6 to P9. One more opportunity will come down into turn 1 and into turn 4. They're going to have to pick their moments, pick their opportunities, and make sure they can do what they can. Sven Schumacher, he's a little too far back really to do anything on this lap. He's going to have to purely rely on DRS, which I don't think at 0.6 seconds or 0.7 seconds is going to be enough to close down the gap. But the straight is fairly long, so don't say no to anything. It could be a late lunge into the first turn. No, nothing there. Clip the curb, clip the second curb, and then clip the third curb. Stay close to the driver ahead. What has he got in this situation? Again, the DRS flap will open up, and once again, nothing will come of it. And there's not really any opportunities to come forward, so we draw to the front. Matteo Lungate led the majority of this race, but as much as I want to say he will be winning this race, it's actually this man, Liam Stevens, who will be taking the win of this race. We had 2 lobby restarts. We've pissed off these drivers because of it. They're rounding the final corners, and as much as Matteo Lungate will cross the line ineffective first, the winner of the race will go to Liam Stevens in Mexico, here in F3. And a massive, massive gap back to Coleman, who draws his position into P3. And as the order will start to readjust itself, with all the penalties added on, the order shifting itself in a dramatic fashion. As I think there's going to be a battle to the line. A little bit of contact between Roshan, Boris, and it's going to be very close across the line. I think penalties were also quite similar as well. But it's good to catch the little battle to the end between the final runners as we wait for the final few to get across the line. But Stevens is going to be happy. Liam Stevens ever so happy with the work he did today. No penalties to his name. Kept it calm, kept it clean. Can't ask for anything else. Who was your driver of the day? The game said Andreas Lopez. Definitely stirred up a bit of a problem. But realistically, I think Liam Stevens is my driver of the day. Yeah, he won the race, but just the calm nature. Actually, Coleman is my driver of the day. I'm going to switch it. Coleman kept it calm, had that battle, had his moments, but he just slowly worked his way up through the grid, finding himself a great position at the end. And you can't go wrong, and he should be happy, head held high, for P3. Liam Stevens finds himself in P1, Matteo Lungate in P2, Coleman in P3, Morwicki in P4, Molnaire in P5, Baker in P6, Schumacher P7, Frenico P8, Tripkov P9, Lopez P10, Rishan Jacobs in P11, Boris in P12, Felipe Sosa in P13, Bartos Zamaro in P14. Dimas was a ghost and somehow actually gained 15th and shouldn't be there. Fabos, McKee and Tumir all retired from the session. And such a disappointment for them as well. I'm sure they would have hoped for a better, outcome for themselves. And it is sad to see, the drivers go out this early, go out in the race early as well. But what a splendid race we had. A lot of action, a lot of drama. I do apologise for the viewers for the mixture of, stopping, going because of the lobby issues. Unfortunately, the servers have been a bit hit and miss here and there. But nonetheless, we got through it. We made our way through. And we can have our head held high to say that we're edging closer to the end of this championship, of which the positions will change. I think there'll be a few definite mid-pack changes. Second place has for sure changed in terms of its positioning. But where are we going next week? I'm just trying to work that out for you guys. We'll be heading to Hungary, Budapest, Hungary. And it's a very hit and miss track for a lot of people. I like it because I can drive it quite well. A lot of people hate it because it doesn't pose a lot of overtaking, but we'll see what happens for sure. And if you do enjoy the racing that happened today, please do stay tuned for next week as more of the F3 racing will come ahead. If it is as there is other races as well, we've got the rest of the league that does happen. Do switch over to some of the other channels, other streams and races that are happening. We've got F4 and F5 racing at this current moment. And yeah, we'll see you all next week for a great apparently they do want some interviews. Yeah, let's bring one on in. About to close it up. Sure, let's have a chat with a couple of the drivers here. I was about to close it up, but who's going to be in my waiting room? We've got Lynn Gates, and here he is. Brilliant race from you. It looked to be dominant, but penalties got the better of you. How did you feel that race went for you?
It was great. First, before the restart, I kind of got screwed over by the safety car, but it was alright. So I started P1 also in the next race. My pace was so good. I've been practicing all week. In TT, I'm like 11th, and I don't know. Mexico, I think he's just my track. And the penalties, yeah, but those don't really matter because I have a 5-second penalty from last weekend, so it would have either way been a P2. So the penalties don't really count a factor. Yeah.
Fair enough. Are you feeling that with this, now you've got that second place in the bag, is this going to bring a bit more momentum coming forward into Hungary?
Oh, Hungary? Oh. You guys are all dead. You guys are all dead in Hungary.
I'll take that as a yes then.
Yeah, Hungary is I think third best track, second. It's crazy.
I'll take your word on it, and I don't know if I'll be able to view it, but I know that the regulars will be back to commentate that. Thank you, Matteo. As we're going to then bring in our third place runner, which will be Carlman. Ooh, if I can actually drag him into the correct area. Hello. Bear with me a second. I'm having some technical issues. Carlman, what a run from you today. Found yourself on the podium. How does that feel?
I mean, after that shit qualifying, I feel so good, bro. I'm happy. I never had the pace in practice, but I guess I stepped up in the race.
Yeah, you had to fight your way through the field, and especially when you had the likes of Tripkov around you who weren't making it easy for drivers to get past. Molnair dropping back for a little bit as well. When you were in that battle, what was going through your head?
I mean, I was just trying to be like, okay, let's not get a penalty, because like, yeah, obviously it's Mexico. You don't want to get a penalty. Everyone else get penalties, so you don't want to. I was just trying to not do dumb shit. I think I accomplished that. And, obviously got a little lucky with, I think it was Andre Molnar who spun. That obviously got me P3 in the end, I think. But I mean, I was just not much was going through the head. I was just focusing. Felt really good.
Yeah, and I believe first podium for you in this series as well. Correct me if
No, it is not.
It is not.
It is my third podium.
Oh, third.
Actually.
Oh, I don't have my thing up anymore. I took it down, so I
fine.
couldn't read it. But again, I said this to Lungate. Does this bring a momentum for you coming out with that third place? Is this going to bring the momentum into Hungary?
Well, I'll see. I haven't driven Hungary that much, and I'm a very track-to-track guy. I figure out this season. But I will try my best, obviously, and hopefully I can do the most I can. Trying to win constructors with Mercedes, with Roshan, obviously, and getting as high up as I can in the driver championship.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Carlman. And now I can properly round it off. Thank you all for watching. If this has been a great race, of course, leave a subscribe to the channel. It greatly helps the channel and the boost and the growth of it all. And if you do love this racing, we will be stay tuned for next week, because next week we're heading, as probably mentioned in this interview and from before, we're heading to Hungary in Budapest, which is a hit and miss track, as you can hear from the two drivers we spoke to. And I look forward to seeing what happens there. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of the night.
This broadcast was brought to you by GT Omega, proudly supporting PSGL.